How we perceive reality. I ask myself, how do we perceive reality as human beings? Because when we know, we might be able to change our reality, which is what I'm sharing, diving into, and inviting you to too. And when I say reality, I'm thinking about how you, me, we live our lives. 2025 is going to be amazing. More abundance than ever, better health than ever, better relationships than ever. I believe that, and I am looking into the things that can help me, and I'm sharing with you too. So you have all what you need of knowledge to make 2025 the best year so far. Again, how we perceive reality. So I ask myself some questions, and here's a quick version of the answers too. I probably want to dive more into it later on, and feel free to comment if there's something that you want to know more about or something that you would like to share or something. So we can create a community where we are open to see how we can make our lives, our reality even better. So, our perception of reality as human beings is shaped by a combination of biological, psychological, and social factors. So, here's a breakdown of how we construct reality. The first one, sensory perception. This is something that is really mind boggling for me because I call this reality, the physical world. In my perception, when I look, it's the reality. I speak about it as looking at a movie screen, but it's only a part of it. So, our five primary senses sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell is like raw data about the external world, which means that our senses is how we take in all the data from out here, and it gets in here, it gets into our brain, and then, which is very important here, the data is not objective. Our brains interpret and filter it in unique ways. First of all, a limited range. We can only perceive certain wavelengths of light, visible spectrum, and certain sound frequencies. Many animals perceive reality differently. Infrared vision in snakes, echolocations in bats. So this means when I see this, when I think about this, it means that what's going on out here, it's only a little percentage or a limited range of what we call reality that we can actually get in here, because there's too much data out here. And the next part of this is sensory illusions. Our brains often fill in the gaps, which is why we experience optical and auditory illusions. And this is so important. I think this is something really amazing to think about and interesting too, which means that we only take in parts of what's going on out here, and we elude ourselves. It's like illusion for us that we believe that we see, hear, feel, smell, touch reality out here, but when in fact it's only a small part of it. And then our brains fills in the gaps. And when I say our brain fills in the gaps, we come to this in the next parts here. But again, think about this. If our brain fills in the gaps of the data we are not seeing or hearing out here, how do we know? How can you trust your brain? How can you trust that this is reality? And with that in mind, when I continue here, also for me, very interesting to think about that the gaps that are filled in by my brain, by your brain, how are those gaps filled in? When you and I can begin to be conscious about this is when I speak about, in my mind, when I speak about matrix, I did a couple of videos about Matrix. When I speak about Matrix, the movie The Matrix, or the three movies, and what the Matrix is, this is, for me, has very much to do with the Matrix. And when I go to the next points here, if we have, like I say, success planted in our soil, if you have success planted in your soil, if you have money success planted in your soil, if you have relationship success, better health success, any kind of success, if you have positivity planted in your soil, when I share the rest of this with you, in my mind, how I see this, if we have positivity seeds, there's a great potential that the gaps our brain will fill in will be filled in with positive or success or whatever it is. And I was just speaking with a friend just before jumping on this call, and we spoke about a group that we are in our local community and how much negativity there is in this group, how many people sees a lot of problems and negativity. And from what I'm sharing here, maybe you know people like this too. It seems like when these people, they look at something, their mind put in a lot of negativity. Their mind put in a lot of stories about negative things or missing things. Makes sense? You know people like this? So let's move on here. The second part, the first part was sensory perception. So again, we only take in some data from the physical world, and our mind creates an illusion and fills in the gaps. Second part is brain processing, constructing meaning. The brain doesn't just passively receive information. It actively constructs reality by filtering, interpreting, and predicting. Again, here, very, very interesting. The illusion. The predictive brain. Our brains are constantly making predictions based on past experiences and then adjusting when new sensory information contradicts those expectations, which means making predictions based on past experiences. So if a person has financial issues in the past, there is a big chance that when the brain predicts what's going on in the future, it predicts financial issues. If a person has experienced bad relationships, going into new relationship, the predictive brain will look in the data and see, okay, probably this is what's going to happen again. This is, as I see it, why so many people are in a hamster wheel, constantly experiencing the same things, because the predictive brain creates the same things. Cognitive biases. Our minds are wired with shortcuts that help us make sense of reality quickly, but sometimes distorted. Confirmation bias, where we see what we expect or want to see. So if our experience as human beings, if you experience, let's say, not enough money and something is happening in your reality, again, take also the predictive brain here, but our mind fills in the gaps. So one person with success can look at something and can see or predict, okay, this is going to be successful. I will create success from this, what's going on right here. And a person just beside the successful person, a person who did not have a lot of success in their life, can look at the exact same thing, and their brain will fill in negative things. We see what we expect or want to see. And want to see is not like, okay, I want to see negative things, but we are wired to see negative things. Memory and perception. We don't remember reality exactly as it happened. Memories are reconstructed and can change over time. So with the other things that I shared so far, it's amazing to me to think about. We only take in a little bit of data. Our brain puts in and fills in the gaps that comes from whatever is in our experience in our what we experienced in our reality before, maybe even the seeds that I talk so much about that we got in our subconscious. But then also we don't even remember correctly. So we might think that we remember what happened like 2 years ago or when we were kids, but fact is we don't. So we create a memory, but it doesn't have to be exactly what happened. And we create stories around that. And take all the things that I shared so far in in your mind when we talk about how we perceive reality, and think that it might be that we create something in our reality from memories, but those memories might not be correctly as they happened. And also we created a story around that memory, around that episode, that might not even be the right story. But we're not even finished yet. So we have number 3 here: social and cultural influences. We do not perceive reality in isolation. Our environment, culture, and social conditioning shape our perceptions. Language shapes thought. The way we describe the world affects how we think about it. Some languages don't have words for certain colors, which influences perceptions. Isn't this amazing? Thinking that different languages use different words. So this also creates different ways of looking at reality. Cultural reality. Different cultures view the world through different lenses. Concepts like time, personal space, and morality vary widely across societies. And consensus reality. Much of what we accept as real is a shared social agreement. Money has value because we all agree it does. So again, for me, this is very interesting that the reality that we create is a mix of so many things, not even our own brain and not even our own experiences, also memories that might not even be correct, and also where we are in the world, what language we speak, who we are brought up, what society we're brought up in, what religion we're brought up in. Then we have number 4 here: psychological and emotional filters. Our internal state alters how we perceive the world. Mood and perception. Depression and anxiety can make reality seem darker, while happiness can make it seem brighter. So if I am in a depression or anxiety mood, or that's how we feel right now, and you probably know this, it's kind of like, okay, there's a lot of fog in the world. There's a lot of darkness. It's kind of like, as I said somewhere here, I look through my glasses and I see it's dark. And then on a happy day, wow, we walk around and we sing and we whistle and everything is so great. And whatever happens, we're like, wow, no problem. We see it from a positive. So also that we can put in the whole thing about how we perceive reality. Then we got beliefs and expectations. What we believe influences what we perceive. People with strong religious and ideological beliefs often interpret ambiguous events in ways that align with those beliefs. I speak so much about beliefs. I worked so much with beliefs in my own life, from my own stories, how I got close to bankrupt, how I owned a 1.5 million US dollar debt, how I ended in that situation. And what I found out when I began to work with myself was that my beliefs was that money takes hard work. My beliefs was that rich people are greedy people, rich people are not happy people, beliefs like that. So my question is here: what's your belief around money? And sometimes we can just, okay, this is my belief. Maybe just jot it down. Keep thinking about this. What is my belief about money? What is my belief about being a human being on this planet? What is my belief about relationships? And then we got the mind-body connection also. So there's so many things how we perceive reality. Our body and nervous system also plays a role in perception. Hormones and neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, cortisol, influence our mood and perception of reality. So this is also a part of how your reality is. And then we got meditation and altered states. Practices like meditation, psychedelics, deep breathing can shift our perception of time, space, and self. I worked with all of these things. I tried all of these things. Also, the things I just mentioned here. So I've been sitting in meditation for many, many, many hours, and I've seen how my perception of time and space and myself altered, it changed. So it's just what I said here is it's only all of these are parts of how we perceive our reality. Then the illusion of objectivity. At its core, our perception of reality is subjective. We assume our experiences are accurate, but every person's reality is filtered through personal experiences, biases, and limitations. Let me say this again. The illusion of objectivity. At its core, our perception of reality is subjective. We assume our experiences are accurate, but every person's reality is filtered through personal experiences, biases, and limitations. As philosopher Immanuel Kant suggested, we don't perceive things as they are, but only as they appear to us. In other words, reality itself might be unknowable. I share all of this because I dive into it. I think I find this very interesting. I share what I'm inspired to, and for me, it's very much about creating a reality, manifesting a reality that is whatever you dream of. And from what I shared here, which are different areas around how we as human beings create our reality, and there's so many components here. Some final thought: is reality an illusion? And I also see videos, I see talks about quantum universes and simulation theory, Buddhist philosophy, suggesting that reality is more of a mental construct than an absolute truth. Others argue that while we may not perceive ultimate reality, our perception is functional. It allows us to navigate the world effectively. My question is, how do you perceive reality? I know this is a big question, but what I want with this question is actually begin thinking about it. Have you ever had experiences where your perception drastically changed? And again, for me, when we begin asking ourselves these things, when we begin to dive into it, when we begin to say, okay, it might not be that what I see here or experience here is reality. When we begin to ask these questions, this might be the rabbit hole that so many people experience. We are going down the rabbit hole, like Morpheus tells Neo, I think, in the first Matrix movie. Take this pill or this pill, right? Stay where you are right now in your perception of reality, or take this pill and go down the rabbit hole. When we begin asking all of these questions, and another perception of it all begins. And also from this is just me sharing something here, but also from this, it's interesting. But the thing for me is, and what I want to share also is that if we begin to understand how we perceive reality, we also have a choice. You have a choice every moment to ask if this is how you want to perceive reality. Is if this is how you want your reality to show up. So begin asking these questions. By that, we can alter our way of thinking. We can begin with the choice. Can begin to put in new suggestions to our brain, success suggestions. And when we begin to experience that, I've seen this before, when we begin to experience the success because we create it, we fill in success stories in our minds, which makes it easier to create more success stories. Watch it again if you want. It's very deep. There's a lot of data here in a very quick, short time, but watch it again. And really, I would love comments. So please let me know, how do you perceive reality? And if you ever had experiences where your perception drastically changed. All right, that's it from now. So I just want to say I wish you the best and I send you some success energy and lots of love.